and welcome to what I'm calling the hot water heater saga. Now I've got a few notes because this is fairly complicated and I thought I wouldn't remember everything, so I do have, you'll see me refer to the notes every once in a while. But you may find this interesting. On 3/10 of 2021, about 7 a.m., my wife tells me there's water all over the basement floor. What the heck could that be? So I go down to the basement and discover that my hot water heater is leaking all over the basement. It's leaking from the top. It's leaking from the bottom seam. There's water coming out everywhere. So I quickly turned off the water to the hot water heater and decided, this was about 7:30 a.m. now, I'll go up, and I remember, when I bought this, and I have a little file on it somewhere. So I went upstairs, dug out the file. I noticed that I had paid for a protection plan for the hot water heater. So I had a pamphlet that described the protection plan. So I looked through that. I wanted to see how many years the protection plan covered. The hot water heater is 7 years old, and I'm thinking, boy, that's pretty old. So I looked all through the protection plan. I just could not see the amount of years it covered. I looked and looked and looked. So after looking at that, and around 9 o'clock, I decided to take my original receipt and the protection plan and go up to the store where I bought the hot water heater, and maybe they can tell me how long the protection plan is for, So I did that. I arrived at the store about 9:45, and as I start to talk to the sales clerk, I look at the receipt, and the protection plan says it's for 8 years. Whoa! So I show this to the clerk, and he says they will give me a new hot water heater. He said if it's determined that that's, unrepairable, they'll give me a new one. So he said, you go back home and get the model number and the serial number, and he gave me a telephone number to call. So that's what I did. So now it's about 10:15 a.m. I'm back home. I go down the basement. I get the model number, write it down. I get the serial number and write that down. And I call the telephone number that the clerk gave me. The number has a recording which says there's a very long wait. So if you leave your telephone number, we will call you back. So I figured, yeah, okay, well that's what I'll do. I'll give them my number and they'll call me back. About 12:30 p.m. now, a lady calls me back and says that she needs the model number and the serial number. She gives me a telephone number and says this is a tech, so give him a call and he will analyze the problem. I called the tech, who I thought it was someone local that I was talking to, and I assumed he was going to come out to the house and look at the hot water heater and tell me what I needed. Turns out the guy is from the replacement hot water heater company. He's from the company that makes the hot water heater that's I'm going to replace the old one with. So he wants the model number and the serial number, so I give it to him. He says, go down the basement, and I'm going to give you a few things to look at, and if you can answer a couple questions. So I go down the basement. He says, where's it leaking from? I said, it's leaking from the top and the bottom, both places. He says, you sure you don't have a plumbing problem? I said, no, it's the hot water heater. It's not a plumbing problem. The hot water heater has sprung leaks all over the place. So he says, take a picture with your phone of the data sheet on the hot water heater that shows the serial number and the model number that I just gave him over the phone, he wants a picture of that. So I do that. I take the picture and I email it to him. About 1:45 p.m., I get an email back with a number to take to the store so that they can give me a new hot water heater at no charge. About 2 p.m., I head back up to the store and give them the number and set up installation for the new hot water heater. They tell me they cannot give me the new hot water heater unless I bring the old hot water heater up to them. I said, I have no way of taking out the old hot water heater, and I don't have any way to bring it up to you. So they say, well, the only other thing to do is you pay for the new hot water heater and put it on a store credit card that you have, and then when the installation, when people install the new hot water heater, they'll bring the old one up, then you can come up and we'll give you your money. We'll take that payment that you made off your credit card so that you're not paying for the hot water heater. Well, I said, okay, that's the only choice I have. I cannot take, the old hot water heater out. I have no way of doing that. So that's what I did. So they tell me that the installer will give me a call with the labor price, which of course I have to pay for the labor. About 9 p.m. now, the installing plumbing company calls me with their quote. But the quote includes not only the labor, but it includes the cost of the hot water heater. I said, wait a minute. You can't charge me for the hot water heater. I'm getting that free, and I've, in fact, it's on my credit card already, and they won't take it off until I bring the old hot water heater in. He said, well, I don't know, that's a new system they have. I don't know what to do. I said, you're not able to quote me labor without the hot water heater included? No, it's very complicated. I'll have to call you back. He says, and I'm going to have to talk to the store so I can figure out how they want me to handle this. And I said, okay, I don't have any choice with this. So I said, okay. Now it's 3:11 the next day. The day before was the 10th. Now it's the 11th. It's 11:15 a.m. and I have not heard from the contractor at all. So I call him. And he says he's not been able to get a hold of anybody at the store. He needs to talk to a manager. He can't get a hold of anybody. He's going to keep trying, and he will call me later in the day. Around 2 o'clock, I decide to call the store. So they say they're sorry for the confusion. This is a new system they're using, and they will call the installer and get it straightened out. About 2:30, I get a call from the store. They say they have the labor price, and I need to pay for it up front on my credit card. Then the installer will set up a time to come out and install the hot water heater. Well, I said, okay, I'll do that. I'll pay for the labor up front. Now it's 4 p.m. No one has called me. So I call the installer. He said he's been working with the store all day to try and get this straightened out. And I say the store called me and told me to pay for the labor up front. So I've done that. It's on my credit card. The labor is paid for. He said he knows nothing about that. Nobody told him that I paid the labor. He says, I've got to call the store. There's something wrong. Now it's 4:30. I get a call from the store saying they did not put the labor on my credit card. And I'm supposed to pay the installer when he comes to install the hot water heater. So they say now the installer will call you just in a few minutes after this phone call. He'll call you and set up a time. No one calls, so at 5 o'clock, I call the installer. He said he's sorry. He said he's sorry he didn't call me. He got busy with other customers. And he asked when I would like the hot water heater installed, and he says, "You currently don't have hot water?" I said, "No, I don't have hot water. I turned the hot water heater off. It's leaking all over the basement." Oh, okay. So he says, "When would you like us to install it?" I said, "Tomorrow. I want you to install it tomorrow, Friday." Okay. The guy says, okay. His guys will go to the store, pick up the new hot water heater, bring it out here and install it, and take the old hot water heater back up to the store. That was a nightmare. Now when I went, he did all that, and he did take the hot water heater back up to the store, so I went up to the store to get my money back off of my credit card for the new hot water heater. So I go to the department where I bought it, and I tell the salesman there, not the original salesman I talked to originally, he of course was not there. So I talked to the salesman, and he says, "Oh, okay, I don't know what to do." He said, "Let me talk to this lady over here." So he says, "Come on with me." So we go over and talk to that lady, and I tell her the whole story again of how this was done. I went through the whole speech. She says, "We don't do that back here. You have to go up to the service desk. Take your paperwork and go up to the service desk. They'll take care of it." I said, "Okay, I'll go up to the service desk." I go up to the service desk, and I tell the girl the entire story of what happened, and that the old hot water heater is now back. It's in your store. And she says, "I don't know what to do. Let me get somebody else to help you. I don't know what to do with this." I say, "Okay." She goes and gets a guy who to me looked like maybe the area manager for the service area. I explained to him the whole story again, and he says, I don't know if I know how to handle this. Let me go talk to the lady over here." He goes over and talks to a woman over a couple of windows over from where I am, and she seems to understand what to do, and she asked me for the model number and the serial number of the old hot water heater, which I happen to have with me, and I gave her that, and she was still having a problem. So since I had taken a picture of the serial number and model number that is located on the hot water heater, I showed her that picture, and she fiddled around with the computer a little more and said, "Okay, it's taken care of, and we will take that off of your credit card, and you should be all finished." Well, they did that. I have never seen anything more screwed up than these big box stores. Nobody knows anything. Nothing. If they didn't have other people there that they could ask, I don't know what they would have done. I mean, it's amazing. Anyway, that's my story of the hot water heater.